We got 15 games on the card here on a hump day, MLB first pitch edition. Only 3 of these games are some early starts, so how are we making some money tonight? That's what you're here to find out. Dan Alexander in the driver's seat and joining me, 2 of the best in the biz. That's right, Bryan, Leonard, and Steve Merril looking to get you guys some winners this evening in MLB. We're going to talk Cubs, Cleveland, Oakland, Mets, Astros, Rays. We got best bets coming your way as well, so make sure you stay tuned here while you're hanging out. Hit that like button, subscribe if you're watching us on social, hit that follow button. We'll stay right there in the timeline where you know and you need us. Shout out to the chat. Let's get right into it, though. Bryan, Leonard, you want to talk Cubs and should have known by the hat, the Cleveland Guardians. But as I'm looking at this matchup, man, I see the projected starting pitchers. It looks like it's pretty much confirmed we're going to get Alex Cobb going for the Guardians today. So my question to you is simple. Is there any reason why we should think his second start will be better than his major league debut? I think it was 5 runs, 4 of them earned. He only went 4 2/3 innings. So for you as a Guardians fan, you're probably saying, man, Cobb on the mound, my money's going the other way. What do you think about this one, Bri?
Actually, it's the first game he's pitched this year because of injuries. He has a definite injury problem. He's had it his entire career. When he's healthy, he's a good pitcher. But, yeah, we're going to be if you're looking for to play the Guardians today, you really need for him to have a better game. I'm looking at the underdog in this one, and as you saw before the show, Kirby decided to join me, so he's into this underdog as well. And, Jamison Taillon is having an under-the-radar very good season this season. He brings in a 3.50 ERA, 1.18 whip into this contest. His walk rate is an elite number in the 94th percentile, which should be huge going against this Cleveland team that really makes the opposition work. Cleveland's a team that takes a lot of pitches, and they try to draw walks. Well, he doesn't give up many walks, and I think that's a benefit against this Cleveland offense. He's bounced back. He's bounced back very well from poor outings so far this year. He was lit up by, of all teams, the White Sox last time out in that crosstown rivalry with the Cubs. And his 2 previous games after allowing 5 earned runs or more, he followed those up with only 1 earned run in a combined 12 innings of work. So I like what Taillon has done. He's not a guy that's going to strike out a ton of players, but he's a guy that keeps the opposition off balance. And as I mentioned, he does not walk anybody. So that's something I really like here. And if you take a look at the Guardians are sending newly acquired Alex Cobb to the mound for a second start. You mentioned his first outing after a long IL stint. Did not go as planned. 4 earned runs and 4 2/3 innings versus the Twins, a team that's been pretty hot as of late offensively. So I think he's going to have to really have a big game here for Cleveland to succeed here. And they'll need him because of to go deep in this game because the Cleveland bullpen is really in for a tough day. The bullpen, we've talked about it all season long, by far the best bullpen in Major League Baseball. That group is a concern today, as Class A, Gaddis, and Smith will likely not be available. The 7th and 8th inning guys pitched 3 of the last 4 games, and Emmanuel Clase, the best closer in baseball, has pitched 4 straight days. Nobody expected him to come out and pitch yesterday. He came out and did it. He won't do that again today. So they're missing their best 3 relievers at the back end, and they've got a starter who, as we mentioned, did not go long in his first game back. If he gets into trouble, they may just have to wait him out. That's the problem with Cleveland's pitching staff in this one. I think we're getting great betting value here on the Cubs. A nice underdog play is the Cleveland pitching staff is definitely a concern in this one.
The dog whisperer right out the gate, giving you a nice plus 125. Cubbies is the look. Hop below in the comments. Let us know what you're betting. Richie Lockhart said, good morning, fellas. Happy hump day. And to you, my friend. He's looking at Houston money line and the A's money line. Well, Richard, we're going to get some thoughts from Steve Merril on one of those matchups, and maybe we'll talk A's a little bit later for you. Robert S., don't worry. You know we're going to talk Phils and Marlins. Maybe I'll just get up on my soapbox and say, I told you so on the Phillies. But, Steve, let's talk Astros and Rays. It was a tight one yesterday for the Astros. 3-2 was the final. Now they go for the sweep. Richard Lockhart thinks they're getting it done, and he's going with the money line. What are you thinking in this one, Steve?
Yeah, we're going to look at this game on Wednesday evening between Houston and Tampa Bay. You know, yesterday I was on WagerTalk today on Tuesday, and I gave out the Houston Astros short favorite of the money line as a free play, and it did cash 3-2, a close game. And I mentioned that, you know, maybe Houston comes a little flat after winning the first game in Tampa on Monday, but that was not the case. They were the better team, better pitcher, and we got them as a hot team, and they won again, and they've now won 7 straight games heading into this one tonight. Tampa's lost 4 out of 5. Tampa has lost 6 of their last 8. Both of these teams started the seasons extremely sluggish, but Houston has turned it around where Tampa still has not. In fact, to put it in perspective, the Astros started 7-19 this year, and they have since gone 57-36. That's nearly a 62% win percentage. There's no team in baseball right now that's won more than 60% of their games overall. So if you throw out that slow start, the Astros really might have the best record in baseball. So much better than their 64-55 overall record. They're just a game and a half ahead of Seattle. They've got plenty to play for. So I'm not looking to get in front of this speeding bullet or maybe catch what is a falling knife with Tampa. But it does concern me that the Astros might regress a little bit after the back-to-back wins. So let's look at the total instead, and we get 8s across the board. We did briefly see some 7.5s overnight. I think over 8 is the way to go. Have no problem fading the cheater. I'd love to fade cheaters. Blanco. This is a guy that vastly outperformed. While the Astros were underperforming to start the season, Blanco was actually outperforming in April and early May. And then all of a sudden, mid-May, they catch him cheating, 10-game suspension. He's actually pitched pretty well since compared to his career averages, but he is not in good current form. It looks like he's starting to wear down here as the season goes, and that's another reason I'd have a little bit of concern with with the Houston side here, and I think the total is the better play. In fact, in Blanco's last 5 outings, a 5.04 ERA, and he's averaging just 5 innings per game. I think Tampa can get to him tonight. Lotto, meanwhile, is actually pitching better than his overall numbers, a 3.0 ERA in his last 5 starts, but I still think he's due to regress and come back down to earth. He's been very mediocre this season with a 4.1 ERA, and overall his last 7, a 4.0 ERA. So these are 2 pitchers that are very hittable. Being kind of somewhat of a getaway game here heading into Thursday, I think this is a situation where the offenses light up tonight. Instead of trying to guess the side, let's look at the total. Take over 8 between Houston and Tampa tonight on Wednesday. And don't forget to comment below here on the shows and all the free play videos as well. Click subscribe and click that bell for instant alerts. Fade the Public, college football top 25, NFL Fade the Public right around the corner here. And, of course, daily free plays on my page at WagerTalk.com, along with my free best bet for tonight, best bets tonight, free play tonight, and get 4 days for free when you buy 3. It's a 7-day special for the price of 3 this week. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Shout out to you, RU Zen. It's good to see you, my friend, in the comments below. And listen to Steve. Hit that subscribe button, folks. Come on. What are we doing? And hit that like button while you're hanging out as well. We appreciate that. And, of course, if you're watching us on social, that follow button goes a long way. Shout out to our viewers over there on TikTok. Let us know what games you like to hear about. Von Chase wants us to talk Royals Twins. We will in just a moment, because before that, Robert S. said, guys, why don't I just run it back here? Marlins, team total, over. 5-0 win over my Phils yesterday. We were talking about an over. I worried how much the Phils were going to contribute to that, and they contributed a goose egg. So now they got 4 straight losses. They lost, 3 straight against Arizona. Now it's just a little 2-game set against Miami. Bryan, any thoughts here? Because with the Phillies, how they're playing, even if you look at the Teddy cover style, look at some locker room quotes, like they're palms up. Like it doesn't seem like they have much of an answer for what's going on in the clubhouse, how it's playing out on the field. But Marlins team total over. Any thoughts on that for Robert, or any thoughts on this game as a whole?
Well, the Marlins have been playing pretty solid baseball considering all the trades that they made and dumping out some of the guys. The Marlins have a good minor league system, so you're getting guys that have a chance to come up and play, where the Phillies have got a lot of veterans on this team right now. And veterans when they're playing well, that's great. But when veterans start to slump, that is the concern, and that's the way the Phillies have been. In fact, look at how the teams have done since the All-Star break. The Phillies obviously have a losing record. The best three records in baseball, and Steve talked about Houston's been on a great run, but they're all coming from the National League West. We've got the Diamondbacks, we've got the Dodgers, and obviously we've got the Padres. Those are the three hottest teams since the All-Star break. And they're all playing very well. The Phillies are a team right now. I like the moves they made during the All-Star break and with the trade deadline and all, but they're just not playing well right now. And when you have players like a Schwarber, like a Harper, and Bohm's really impressed me this year, but he hasn't been nearly as good. Those are concerns. And Trey Turner, when he came back, Turner was hot as hell for the Phillies. He has not done anything since. So they've got all these veteran guys, JT Realmuto. They're all not playing well, and you get a bunch of them in a row. It's very contagious a lot of times. And so the Phillies offense is a concern here. So I can't lay that big number with them, although I do like the starter a little bit tonight. And he is coming off of a situation where Phillips did not pitch well earlier. But this all comes down to Edwin Cabrera going for Miami, and this is a guy with a 12.4% walk rate. Philadelphia just has to stand in there and be patient against them, and they'll have success. The problem is when you're not hitting well, like the Phillies aren't, they're just getting up there a lot of times and guessing, and they're looking for that fastball right down the middle.
Yep.
And so that is the concern we have for Philadelphia here. So if I was to play it, I'd play the underdog, but I don't trust the Philly offense right now in order to look at the total, so the total over. So lean with Cabrera, who's pitching a little bit better as of late. And Miami, as I mentioned, is a team that everybody's given up on, which gives us plenty of value the rest of the season.
Yeah, the problem is if part of the handicap relies on the Phils being patient at the plate, not really their strong suit. And then you can also factor in, like you said, the almost desperation that they seem to feel at the plate when they're in slumps like this. I couldn't agree more with what you're saying there, Bry. So hop below in the comments. Robert S. says, if I got to suffer as a Phils fan, might as well be profiting as a gambler. Yes, the old emotional hedge, Robert. I know this well. Once Eagles season rolls around, I too am always looking for that emotional hedge for sure. Steve, they love you over on TikTok. Sam Nicholas. Hey, Steve, nice to see you on TikTok. Giving you a shout out over there. We appreciate you, Sam. And Luis Aguilar 7738. He at least likes one of your plays because he's got a 4-team parlay he cooked up. Minnesota, Houston, Toronto, and the San Diego Padres. So good luck to you over there, Luis. Steve, let's talk at least about that Padres. And don't worry, Von Chase, we got Royals and Twins. That game is coming up next. But wanted to touch upon at least a little piece of the parlay for my man there, especially since it's one of the earlier games. 4-10 Pirates, Padres, Keller, and Perez. Any thoughts on this one for you, Steve?
Well, first of all, let's see. Yep, Paul Skeen's not pitching for Pittsburgh, so it's safe to maybe fade him in this game, right? It's the first thing we do on our checklist each and every day. I talked about Keller last week. We were on the show, and he was an all-star last year for Pittsburgh with an ERA of over 4 for the season. He's actually pitching better this year at the 3.56 ERA. He finished with a 4.21 ERA last year, made the all-star team. Didn't make it this year, didn't make it the year before when he had better ERAs both years. So it's kind of humorous. So he's a decent pitcher is my point, but he's not in great current form. 4.5 ERA his last 7. Perez is also not in good current form. He's got a 4.8 on the season, 4.9 his last 7. So these are two pitchers I'd be a little cautious with. It is a early start, like you said, a somewhat of a daytime game here. So we got to be careful with that as well, as that can get a little tricky at 4 Eastern. But I think the over 8 could be worth a look here. Have seen some 8.5s. In fact, the Superbook's 8.5 under 20. Most books are 8 over 20. Basically, that is the same line. The non-key number of 8 is worth about 20 cents long term. But I think the over 8 minus 120 would be my preferred play in this game with two pitchers that are probably gettable today on Thursday or Wednesday, rather, as we head into Thursday. I'm confused already, Dan, what day of the week it is, as you can tell.
Oh, I'm with you. I'm with you. That's why I just look at what the games are, the start times. I don't worry about the day. I just make sure, all right, my tab is on Wednesday. I'm on the WagerTalk live odds screen. They're telling me exactly when the games are going. So I got your back as well, Steve. No worries there. Bryan, anything else to add in one of those in that 4:00 start as far as the Pirates and the Padres are concerned? If not, would love to hear your thoughts on the earliest start time. This one just going in about 2 hours. The Royals and the Twins. I got you, Vaughn Chase. He's just wondering how this one shakes out. Man, it's just been an absolute throttling against the Royals here. I think they've been outscored, if my math is correct, 21-6, as the Twins have already locked up the series win. They're going for the sweep here today in the early start, but they'll have Varland on the mound as they look to do it. Any thoughts in that one, Bryan?
Yeah, I'll pass on the one that Steve talked about. I've got nothing on that one, but I do have some concerns for Minnesota in this one. Louis Varland talked to you in the past about him being like a quad A player in the major leagues in his career. He's got a 4.91 ERA, 1.33 WHIP. Take a look at his starts this year. All but 2 of his starts have been at home, and yet he's had that 6.46 ERA, so he hasn't done well. His WHIP this year, 1.66. He played Milwaukee and Baltimore on the road, but every other game has been at home, and the only successful start came against the Colorado Rockies. He went 5 innings of shutout baseball against Colorado. I believe he only gave up 1 hit in that game. But the Rockies on the road make everyone look good. So that is a concern. He's even, struggled sometimes this year against, other teams that don't hit well, like the Tigers, although Tigers sure did hit well against one of the best pitchers in baseball yesterday. But, yeah, that's my concern for Minnesota. I can't lay the number with Varland on the mound. You've got the ace for Kansas City going today in Cole Ragans. He's had a terrific season. But Minnesota does hit lefties pretty well. If you take a look at Minnesota on the season, they're 10th in baseball in WRC plus against lefties. So it's a situation for myself where maybe the total is the way to look in this one. Minnesota has hit lefties well, and as we pointed out, Varland's going to put up a lot of base runners against Kansas City. Now, I know Kansas City was on fire, recently. Witt making a run for the MVP in the American League. He's just been great. But some of the other guys have been slumping a little bit. But I think they can have some success here. It's an early game, and we get the bats come out early in this one. And you're looking at 8.5 under a little bit. I think we get 9 runs here and you get a plus price. So give me the Kansas City-Minnesota game over the total in this game that starts at 10 Pacific, just about an hour and 50 minutes away.
Nobody scans the board checking out the plus money opportunities for you like Bryan Leonard does. WT.buzz/BL. You can check him out over at WagerTalk. Check out Steve, WT.buzz/SM. Either of these guys, if you never tried us out before, you can get 7 days of all access, a week of plays for the price of 3. It's a great time to save some money. Ride with these guys. Bryan, he doesn't release anything as far as the NFL preseason is concerned, but he's getting ready to go for college football, NFL right around the corner. So check both of these guys out. WT.buzz/deals is where you can get some more info on that. But 7 days of access for the price of 3. Not too bad. Steve, when it's the battle of your fandom, it's like your soul is up for play
I was already looking at this game for
Camden
you.
Yards.
Love it.
In Baltimore, Maryland. You knew I wouldn't pass this one up.
I was, man. I read your mind.
You knew it. You knew that it was coming your way. It's because we're simpatico, Steve. We're in mid-season form, even though technically we're well past the mid-season mark here in baseball. But Nats and O's, it's hers, it's Kremer. For what it's worth, I know they get the win last night, but like the Nats, people think of them obviously as not quite a bottom feeder, but definitely a middling team. But whenever they play as some of these more top flight competition, definitely playoff contenders, it seems like they raise their play a little bit. It's a weird anomaly that you kind of seen from them. Last night, they get 9-3, 14 hits they had to come across. And it wasn't like the O's, fared for not trying. They notched 10 themselves. So thoughts for you? Who are you backing? Your Washington Nationals versus your Baltimore Orioles, or are you just going to keep it out of it and look towards the total? What say you, Steve?
Yeah, very conflicted here. As a child, it was my Baltimore Orioles, and it became my Washington Nationals. And now that the Orioles are the better team, they got to be my Baltimore Orioles again, right? So I've got to get a shout out to my friend John Amos and his son, John Amos. They're such big Nats fans. There's two of them. True story. They went to 5 straight games in early July to try to get Wood's first home run ball. And Big John caught a home run that day in right field, and it was from a different player, and Wood hit it to left field later that game. And he actually caught a home run in right field. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I was talking to them last night about the Nats, and they were all excited because they had some players coming up last night. A third baseman that was part of a trade from Arizona, I believe, had a big game with a few hits. And my point, Dan, is that I think that could actually spark a team like Washington. I know they're out of contention, but they're starting to bring up more young players. And we see this a lot in September. These teams that are out of contention play quite well, and we get them as big dogs sometimes. And then, as you mentioned, they're playing a city rival somewhat here in Baltimore. By the way, had the Orioles won last night, they would have been tied for the best record in baseball. So Washington knocked them out of that perch. The Orioles are 70-50. The Guardians and Dodgers 71-49. Don't look now. The Dodgers have the best record in baseball. It's all worked out, just like we thought at the beginning of the season. Here's something else that's interesting. The Nationals are 13-17 their last 30. The Orioles, 13-17 their last 30. Who would have thought that these teams have identical records the last 30 games when the Orioles are the best in baseball and the Nationals have played their way out of the playoffs? My point is the Nats could definitely win again tonight. It would not surprise me. So I'd be careful with this game. As far as the total, we've seen it drop from 9 down to 8.5 in some locations. Both offenses were decent last night. Wouldn't be surprised to see some runs this evening. You look at Baltimore, they are slumping a little bit with just 4 runs the last 2 nights. Nats, as you mentioned, 13 runs the last 2 games. They have put up 5 or more now in 3 of their last 5. I actually like the Nats and the Orioles to go over 8.5 if you can get that total down below the key number of 9. As far as the side, a little neutral here because I do think the Orioles could bounce back after the loss, but the Nats actually have some upside here over the next month.
Yeah, RU Zen pointing out kind of what Steve and I both touched upon there, and that's the Nats are the spoiler alert team in baseball. It definitely has seemed like that again, when they play off against some of these top flight teams, that's when they seem to raise their play, and you saw it again last night. That's the thoughts there from Steve Merril. Bri, I know one of the biggest parts of your handicapping, and I mean baseball handicapping as a whole, is taking a look at starting pitching. Well, the starting pitching love is rolling in here in the chat. They all want to hear about Bryan Woo Day. He's going against Bryski for the Detroit Tigers, and boy, are the Mariners probably happy to see their ace hopping up there on the mound after that 15-1 rolling that they had last night. Second game of the series going to be played here this evening. How are you looking to potentially bet this one? Are you feeling the love for Woo as well as the chat is?
Woo, when healthy, is a terrific young player. He's got great numbers. His walk rate, 2.7% on the season. His strikeouts are a little bit down compared to what he showed last year, but this is a guy who is very good at everything that he does, and he's somebody I'm looking to back if possible. My cat seems to like the underdog in this one, but
that's when we know.
Bo Brisky is a guy who Detroit really thought they were going to have something with him. They couldn't make up their mind where they wanted to have him as a starter or a reliever, and he's been one of those guys that has bounced around. But when he gets a chance to pitch, he's been pretty good. His strikeout percentage, 25.4. Walk percentage is about league average. So he's done pretty well here. So it would not surprise me if he gets a good outing here. Woo's the better pitcher, but when he's on, he's been terrific. When he hasn't been, he hasn't been. That's the concern here. But with Seattle yesterday having to just clean out the bullpen a little bit and have some guys throw a lot of innings there, that is a concern here if something happens to Woo. He's been getting hurt all season long. He's not fully healthy. That's the thing. And so something could happen in the game where he leaves early, then you have some problems here for Seattle. But I prefer the Seattle side. You just can't expect people to get hurt, and you don't want anybody to get hurt. But that's my only concern here is if something happens, and he has been injury prone in his young career, something happens early, they got to go to the bullpen. That is something that we don't want to see. Detroit set up pretty well. Their bullpen's been okay all season long. They can't find a closer. They've gone through 5 or 6 closers all season long, but that gives you a lot of guys that feel comfortable in that late inning area. So I prefer the Seattle side a little bit here, but it's not enough to make my card.
Hey, you always know, even whether it's making the card or not, when you hear a cat in the breakdown, you can go ahead and you can take it to the bank. The chat who tunes in every day here knows that one. So hop below in the comments. Let us know what you're looking to bet here tonight. Steve, one of the comments that we got earlier from one of our viewers was talking about the 2 plays that he liked. I alluded to the fact that he likes the A's today. They're going against the Mets, and while the A's might not be pushing for any playoff position anytime soon, they're playing pretty damn well, and they're doing a good job being a spoiler for teams who are fighting for playoff position. And what they did last night with the Mets, 4 RBIs in a 9-4 victory. It sounds like the Cats agreeing with me and the chat. What do you think about the A's here against the Mets, or did we already get our plus money on them last night? What do you think?
Yeah, we'll find out because Brian's going to use this as a best bet. So we're going to find out if he agrees with that cat, or if that cat is going to go hellaciously and attack him. We can't. Brian's too pretty to get attacked by a cat. So stay
Very
tuned.
fair.
Must see TV coming up for the best bet segment on that one. I will point out with the A's, 51-69, 120 games in, right? 42.5% win percentage. I don't think any of us thought their record would be this solid. And this is a team that's won 6 out of 10. They've won 3 straight. So they are a competitive team this year as opposed to the White Sox. And by the way, I'm going to talk the White Sox-Yankee game in a little bit for my best bet. I'm going to look at the total there. But the White Sox now 29-92, 240 win percentage. So that's kind of what we thought the A's would be. With that said, I do think the Mets are my play in this game if I'm going to play it because New York is fighting. They're 8 back in that NL East behind the Phillies and Braves, but they're only 2 back of the Braves who are the wild card spot. So they have a lot to play for here. And I think the fact that the A's have played well this season, these prices are a little more reasonable than they would normally be. Obviously, I'm not going to probably lay $1.75, but that run line, getting it down to minus 1.5 plus money is intriguing to me, plus 115. And as we talk about a lot, too, you can always do the -1 run line, cut it in the middle. If your book doesn't offer it, most do now. You can make your own -1 run line by playing half and half, and that would cut it down 45 cents and get it down to -1, -130. So either the -1, -130, or -1.5 plus 115 on the Mets would be my preference in this one tonight.
So that's Steve's thought, and Steve did tease it, so I won't make you wait. I think we got a little bit of a head-to-head action here because Bryan Leonard has some thoughts here on the A's and the Mets. It's tabbed as his best bet here on the show today. So, Bryan, tell folks what you have over at WagerTalk.com. WT.buzz/BL is the quickest way to get there for them. And tell us why the other side, it might be worth a look in this game, A's and Mets.
Yeah, I'm still working on the card today. It's early. Still waiting on some line movements to make sure I get what I'm looking for there. But this has a good chance to be on the card, and it is my best bet on the show today. And, you know, the Athletics have been a top 10 hitting team this year versus Southpaws with a 113 WRC plus. And this is a squad that was considered, as you mentioned, a bottom dweller before the season. Now excitement is in the air for A's fans. Unfortunately, Oakland isn't the city that's going to benefit from that, as the A's are only a game behind the Angels and 4 games behind the defending World Series Rangers. Oakland's playing good ball, and Sacramento and Las Vegas are getting excited a little bit here for the A's. I like some of their young guys they brought up. I'm going to see the Aviators play tonight, which is Oakland's AAA squad, and they've got some pretty good players coming up in that regard. So I like the future from Oakland a lot more now than I did about a year ago. Sean Estes has had a huge home road dichotomy this season. He's got a 2.40 ERA at home, 7.47 ERA on the road. So obviously regression's coming to both those numbers, which is a good thing on the road here. Is I think he's going to pitch much better against this Mets team. This is a good pitching park, and we see that the road number dropping considerably here with a good effort tonight. You know, the Mets are only 30-30 at home on the season. They've lost 7 of 10, including 4 straight overall. And in those 4 games, they produced a combined 5 total runs. I think the Grimace Day has reached the ending, and maybe they can get the Hamburglar to show up at New York tonight and probably change that up for them. But I'm not looking for that. I'm looking for Oakland to really have a good game here. And as we mentioned before about David Peterson, one of the luckiest starters in baseball. He's got a 3.34 ERA to go along with a 1.42 whip. Now, one of those numbers does not equal the other. In fact, his expected ERA is 5.42, over 2 full runs higher. When looking at his advanced stats, he's only better than league average in ground ball rate and extension. Coming off 2 good starts against the poor hitting Angels and Rockies, Peterson's in for a wake-up call against these A's bats because Oakland, right now with their youth and the excitement they have right now, their offense has been very good. As I mentioned, a 113 WRC plus on the season versus lefties. Oakland gets it done here, and they get a nice price in that regard.
Yeah, you shop around. There's even some plus 165s out there. So, well, yeah, that's a lot of McNuggets if you want to grab that plus money price there. Plus 150 around that up to 165. So probably more around like 157 is where you're going to settle in. But as Tyler knows, you hear the breakdown, you hear the dog barking, well, you hear the cat meowing. Give me the A's plus the 1.5. Forget that, Tyler. Come on, ride with the cat, truly, and sprinkle a little bit on that money line. Come on, T. You know how we do it here. Hop below in the comments. Let us know what your best bet is for Bryan. He's going with the dog. The A's getting it done against the Metropolitans. Steve, how about you? What do you got locked and loaded? That 7-day special is incredible. It's going to be expiring soon, so you better go and check it out. WT.buzz/deals for some more details there. But, Steve, what are you looking to bet tonight, and what can people find when they partner with you? The Yankees and the White Sox. I did warn folks yesterday. It wasn't like I was going to be back in the Yankees with that insane money that you had to lay, but I said, I think we got our plus money with the White Sox. That great win that they had, I didn't expect it to happen again. So people who bet the run line, people who took the alt line, they all left the money at the door because it was a 4-1 final. So how do you see this one shaking out? You taking the side out of the equation, Steve?
Yeah, first of all, the White Sox haven't won back-to-back games since June 29th. To put things in perspective, that's like 40-some games ago. So I guess them losing yesterday after winning as a $3 dog is not a shock. I'm going to talk about the total in a moment for a free play. Just a quick reminder, we do have a great special, buy 3 days, get 7 days. So you buy 3, you get 4 more for free. It's a 7-day package for the price of 3 right now, this week only. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com. And, of course, you can also get a daily free play, including tonight on Wednesday on my page at WT.buzz/SM. Let's first talk about how bad these White Sox are and another reason why I can't trust them. I'm not looking to lay, $2.50 here with the Yankees and Will Warren because Warren has been horrendous in his limited pitching opportunities in the big leagues. So we're going to look at the total. But to put things in perspective, the worst team in the history of baseball was in 1899. Brian Leonard's Cleveland Spiders went 20-134. That was a 13% win percentage. The White Sox are at 24%. They're going to finish better than that. But the worst win percentage in the modern era is actually your Philadelphia Athletics, Dan, in 1916.
Thank you.
Went 36-117. That's a 235 win percentage. And once again, the second worst team was a 248. So the White Sox right now at a 240 win percentage could go down as the worst team in baseball. And if we look at total losses right now, they are the worst team in the history of baseball. Other than that Spiders team that lost 134 games, if you look at the modern era, which is 1901 to present, over 100 years, no team has lost more than 120 games. And that, of course, was Teddy Covers and Joe Ranieri's 1962 Mets that went 40-120. The White Sox right now are on pace to go 39-123 on the season. So we're not going to try to catch this falling knife, even though they have done a little bit better, going 2-4 their last 6. Davis Martin on the mound for the White Sox, 5.9 ERA in his last 7 outings. That goes back to 2 starts this year and 5 starts in 2022. So last time he had started until his last 2 outings this month of August, in which he's given up 4 runs in 9 innings. Now, he had a 6-inning shutout in his last start. I think this smells regression big time. I look for the Yankees to get to him tonight, especially since New York is on alert after losing a couple of days ago. But once again, I don't want anything to do with either side here because Will Warren is really bad for the Yankees. In fact, in his 2 starts this season, he's given up 12 earned runs in just over 9 innings. So the White Sox actually might get some offense tonight for one of the rare times this season. And by the way, the White Sox have scored 5 runs or more in 3 of their last 6 games, including those 12 runs against the Yankees 2 nights ago. So let's not try to guess the side in this one. Let's look at the total. I like over 9 minus 120. Now, some spots are 9.5, others are 9. It's a key number. So shop around, find over 9 minus 120. Yankees, White Sox over the total, and a little history lesson for you as well here. And don't forget, get my best bet in a free play tonight. Steve Merril, WagerTalk.com.
Well done there, Steve. History, all you need, and a breakdown going over in the Yankees and the White Sox tonight. Guys, we got a question coming in over on TikTok. Jay wants to know about one of these early games going, the Rockies against the D-backs. And Bryan, we kind of talked about the Rockies away from Coors Field. Now, I will say, it's not like the Diamondbacks had just rolled over them last night, needed to come from behind victory. But if you're looking to back the D-backs today, it's kind of all factored in with the price. Jordan Montgomery against Gordon there, and you're approaching 2 bills that you got to lay here with the D-backs taking on the Rockies. Any thoughts in this one? Because I just look at that price with the team I want to back, and it crosses it off the slate for me.
Yeah, before we get to that one, I do want to touch on the game that Steve just spoke about. Will Warren, as Steve mentioned, he's been horrendous in his first 2 starts for the Yankees, 11.17 ERA, but his expected ERA is 5.67. I talked the other day about the one number I look for is strikeout minus walk ratio. His numbers are better than league average in strikeout and walk ratio, even with those 2 bad starts. He's their number 5 prospect. I think he's got a very good future. He's 6'2", 175. He has not pitched well, no doubt about it, but his advanced numbers look a lot better than what his output has been. So it would not surprise me if we're getting him at a bargain if you're looking to play them today, looking to play the Yankees in that regard. Colorado, as you mentioned, Gordon against Montgomery. Montgomery, as I've talked about every time, he signed late and he has not been good. Took him a long time. It's the same situation that's going on for the San Diego starter who's thrown a no-hitter, and he's been terrific. He's turned it around. So you would expect Montgomery, another veteran, to be able to do the same thing. But until it happens, it's hard to lay that kind of money. Arizona's starting pitching staff is getting healthy right now, so they've invested a lot of money in Montgomery. But if he does not turn it around, it would not surprise me if he loses his job, because they've got some pretty good starters on this team and some guys in the minors that could make that next jump. Tanner Gordon, nothing special here going for Colorado, as you would expect. Their pitching staffs, it's been a long time since they've had a pitcher who can win on the road as well as home, which is one of the reasons why we go against the road Rockies. Like Arizona here, just can't get to that number. As you mentioned, high number here. They are playing great. But divisional opponents when the Rockies play their divisional opponents, they seem to play a little bit better than they do against the non-divisional opponents. So can't get in front of that train with Arizona, but the line's too high to back Colorado. Or like Colorado's may have some value, but I'm not going to back them.
Yeah. No, I'm right there with you, Steve. We also have a question from MNMs over on TikTok. Appreciate you tuning in, asking just about Montgomery potentially racking up strikeouts. He's asking, does Montgomery get 5 strikeouts in this game? You have to go back to his start against the Phillies was the last time, and this was his previous start against the Phillies back in July when he was able to get 5 Ks. Since then, it's been 5 straight games under that and well under that. He approached it against the Phillies the last time out, and that was on the 8th of August. I wouldn't be backing any Montgomery props over for a lot of the reasons that Bryan just said there. It's a guy who's struggling, who kind of probably feels the pressure a little bit. So 5 Ks, does Montgomery get there? Because that wouldn't be a bet on my card personally.
No, like you said, he only got 5 against Philly. You have to go back to the game before that when he had 7. So he's had 5 or less, 6 straight games. But the bigger problem with any over props is that he's not getting a lot of innings. Look at his recent starts here. He has gone 5, 3, 4, 5, and 2 his last 5 outings. He hasn't gone over 5 innings and a third in any of them, or 2/3. So this is a guy that's going to go 5 innings at most. That's 15 out opportunities. It's only half a game, and I'd be cautious with him for that reason.
That's Steve Merril. Shout out to him. Shout out to Bryan Leonard. And shout out to all of you joining us live here or on the rewatch while you're hanging out. Hit that like button. If you're on social, make sure you follow. And for you on YouTube, you probably are already subscribed. But if you're not, you just found us, hit that subscribe button. Football content coming your way. These guys drop single game videos. All that you need to bet all the sports you love, you can find right here on WagerTalk TV, on your social channels, and, of course, here on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, and the little bell will notify you when we go live. Bryan Leonard going with the Oakland A's. Best bet for him today. Steve Merril going over in the Yankees and the White Sox. That's going to do it for another edition, a Hump Day edition. We'll be back locked and loaded Thursday morning for you, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 a.m. here on the West Coast, getting you those winners that you know and love. Until then, best of luck, everyone. We'll see you tomorrow. Hang out, because 15 minutes from now, Wager Talk Today coming your way. They're going to talk some NFL season win totals. They're going to be talking some golf, some soccer, MLB. If you missed any of the games here, ask some questions with Marco D'Angelo, Ross Benjamin, and Nick Borman joining the Prez and Teddy Covers. So make sure you hang out 15 minutes from now. Best of luck, everyone. We'll see you Thursday. Hopefully, a little more money in our pocket. We'll see you then.